weather, we are now going to go ahead and give you some of the sounds of the Old West. Fellas, are you ready? Here we go!
I'm from Oceanside, California.
Gold Canyon.
We're from Gilbert.
Chandler.
From Mesa, Arizona.
I'm from Las Vegas.
Camp Verde.
I kind of feel like I'm going back in time and seeing what it was like on the trail in the chuck wagons. It's just sort of transforming.
People get to come in for free. You don't ever get this caliber. It's amazing. It truly is.
I think this is great for everyone to kind of get a chance to touch and smell and taste of what it was like, and it's definitely that really neat history lesson.
They always have it in November, so the weather is usually fantastic.
And Chandler is the biggest and nicest chuck wagon gathering in the state. And so if you're anything, you're going to be in Chandler.
It brings everybody together. I love it. We have a good time.
All day, ladies, go wait, boys. It's out of the chute.
Well, hello and welcome. This is Chandler in Focus, and I am Council Member Kevin Hartke. Our topic of discussion today is actually one of my favorite of all the shows that I have the privilege and opportunity to do, which has to do with our annual Chuck Wagon Cook-Off. My guests today are Jody Craigo and Nate Myers. We're so glad to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't we start and tell us a little bit about yourselves. I really am excited about this show. Sometimes we have people bring in some great food that we get to sample, and I know there's going to be a lot of fantastic food at this particular event. As I said, this is easily one of my favorite events in Chandler. So Jody, tell us about yourself.
I'm Jody Craigo, and I'm the museum administrator for the Chandler Museum, located at 300 South Chandler Village Drive, just south of the Chandler Fashion Mall. And there we do exhibits and our research archive. And I'm also supervise the Tumbleweed Ranch, which is in Tumbleweed Park, where the Chuck Wagon Cook-Off is.
And I'm Nate Myers. I'm the collections curator over at the museum. So that means I get to do everything with all the artifacts, research and acquisitions and all that kind of fun stuff.
Well, that's fun, and I'm looking forward to perhaps hear a little bit later about some of the artifacts that we continue to collect and other things related to that. So perhaps some of our viewers are unfamiliar with this particular venue and event. Tell us about this and a little bit about the history.
Sure. So the cook-off itself is a food competition where authentic 1880s wagons come and cook meals over open fires with Dutch ovens in methods that were used during the cattle drives of the 1880s. They're made up of anywhere from 2 to 4 cooks that are typically enthusiasts of this history and of the style of outdoor cooking.
And so the nature of this, what are the types of things that goes on and at this event, and where will our competitors be coming from?
All right. Well, the competition itself is a 5-course meal where they make meat, potatoes, beans, bread, and a dessert. And they make that using, as I said, authentic materials and equipment that you would have seen on the trail drives. They also bring these authentic wagons that are typically restored wagons from the 1880s. We have wagon teams coming from Colorado, from New Mexico, from Las Vegas, and all over Arizona.
Very good. Nate, what's the date on this particular location of the event?
Sure. This year's event will take place on November 11th and 12th, Veterans Day weekend. It's in Tumbleweed Ranch, which is in the southeast corner of Tumbleweed Park at Germain and McQueen.
So other than the wagons that Jody mentioned, what else can we expect at the event this year?
Sure. The first day, Friday, we will have a youth cooking competition for youths aged 10 to 15. We will have cooking demonstrations. We'll have music throughout the day. We will have a flag raising ceremony to kick off the event to celebrate Veterans Day. And we will close the event that evening with a campfire glow and some more cooking, and then some cowboy singing too. Saturday is the big event that Jody already touched on a little bit. We're going to add a vendor marketplace to that. We're going to have entertainment provided by Pioneer Pepper and the Sunset Pioneers. And then the main event is the meal, which is served at high noon on Saturday. And the tickets for that are $15. They are not available in advance. You have to buy them the day of. There's a very limited number. They go on sale at 10 that morning, so you want to make sure you're in line at 10 to get those tickets.
And how many venues did you say we were going to have again? Or how many were there?
We are targeting 11 wagons this year. So
11 wagons. So 11 pots of beans and 11 some bread and other types of things.
Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. Tell us about Tumbleweed Ranch and its significance in Chandler.
Sure. So Tumbleweed Ranch was first envisioned by former Assistant Community Services Director Dave McDowell. He noticed that as Chandler developed into a modern city, those agricultural fields and those foodways were sort of disappearing. So he wanted to create a space in Tumbleweed Park where that kind of history could be documented. So we have a great outdoor museum there where we have 3 historic houses. We have the Red Shed Theater. We have antique farm equipment, demonstration fields that are operated in conjunction with the Future Farmers of America at Chandler High. And we do all of our school field trips there at the ranch.
And the actual venue here, this is our 10th annual. It precedes you by just a few years, I think, or a year or two.
It's actually our 7th, and we started in 2010. Yeah, absolutely.
So you were actually on staff
Yep.
when we started that. You've been here since the beginning, really, both of you. So tell us about the genesis, the history of this.
Sure. So when Dave McDowell retired, he was really passionate about Tumbleweed Ranch. And so he, plus a number of volunteers, formed an organization called the Partners of Tumbleweed Ranch, and they became a support organization for the museum and what we do at the ranch. After some planning, we had some conversations, and we wanted to do a fundraiser that proceeds would benefit different activities and different kinds of things at the ranch. And so we came up with this idea of bringing chuck wagons. That first year, we only had 4 chuck wagons, and as you can see, it's grown quite a bit since those days.
What's been our peak year? Have we had more than 11 in some years past?
Last year was our peak year. We had 12,
Okay.
and who knows? We may hit that number yet. We're still accepting applications for wagons. But some of the other former highlights in 2014, the Food Network filmed a pilot for a potential show with Robert Irvine at the Chuck Wagon event. So there's been a lot of fun of pastimes.
Now, obviously, this is not just an event that happens in Chandler, but I understand there's actually a circuit of chuck wagons and these types of competitions. Tell us about that.
Well, the chuck wagon competition is very fierce. They don't take this competition lightly, and there are very specific rules about how the food is prepared. They can't use any pre-prepared sauces or spice packets that you might get from the store. And actually, you can't even use any material except what we provide for them. So it's an equal competition. This year, we are part of an inaugural effort by the American Chuck Wagon Association to have a sanctioned champion. So we are a sanctioned event that will add points to a championship nationally that we crown later this year. So yeah, there are a number of events all over the country. A lot of them are in Texas. There are a few in Arizona. There are some in New Mexico. And indeed, these wagons travel around and go to these events. And then the ones that win each of the events get an invitation to the championship cook-off that'll be later this year.
So for someone to get invited to the championship, all they have to do is win one of the circuit events. And how many roughly are there that you're aware of that actually would then apply for the championship?
I don't actually know how many sanctioned events there are this year, but there are literally probably hundreds of events that go on. And the grand champion that'll be named here at Chandler are judged by each of those courses of meals. So each course has 3 local celebrity judges who will judge the food. So meat, beans, potato, bread, and dessert. And then their wagons are judged for authenticity. We take all of those and add them together to create a grand champion. That grand champion will get that invitation to that national championship.
I've never considered myself a local celebrity. I've always considered myself a local extra that loves good food. This has become somewhat of a phenomenon, not just this, but across our country, whether it's bake-offs, the great British bake-off that they do, or this. Is this, do you see the stock of this, of events like this rising, or maybe they'll have their own dedicated show of the series sometimes?
Yeah, I can see that. Actually, we've already been contacted by the Food Network again, this time to talk to some of our youth cook-off participants, because they're thinking about filming a show about youth cook-off events, and they're considering the Chandler Chuck Wagon and our youth cook-off as an event to feature as part of that show. So,
yeah. So Nate and Jody, but Nate, tell us, why do you think people should attend this event? What's special about this? Of all the things, particularly you guys who do a lot of cultural events in our city, why should people attend this?
I think it's a fun event. It's a unique event. In a lot of ways, chuck wagons are kind of America's first food trucks. And, you know, that's kind of becoming a big thing in foodie circles. The food you can get at the chuck wagon event is, it's prepared uniquely. You can't get it anywhere else. So I think it provides that really unique culinary experience.
What would you say, Jody?
well, I would say it's one of the great events that Chandler puts on. It's a family fun event. It's low cost. You can come in for free and then just enjoy the environment. It's also really a great opportunity to see what those chuck wagon cooks were doing on that trail ride. It's an experience you can't get anywhere else.
Recently, council changed the ordinance on our food trucks in Chandler, and I don't know whether we covered chuck wagons as a separate category. I really don't want to get into that part, but we've certainly made it easier for food trucks in general to come to Chandler, and hopefully the great work that you guys do will continue to make more chuck wagons come to Chandler as well. So Nate, tell us, what is some of the other programming that the museum has coming up this fall?
We have got a very busy fall planned. Fall is generally kind of the kickoff time for a lot of our programs, so we're restarting our monthly Our Story speaker program. The October program is going to be Ghost Riders in the Sky, so it'll tie in nicely with the Chuck Wagon event. We're starting a slate of programming in conjunction with the public libraries, where we had received an LSTA grant to do some programming, lectures, panel discussions, videos, movies, that kind of thing, around America in times of conflict. And that kicks off November 5th with a whole slate of events. We do another edition of our popular trivia night at the Ostrich with hip historian Marshall Shore.
That was fun the last time I was able to attend that.
It's a blast, and he does a really great job with it. We love working with him on that program. That's coming up in December.
Oh, good.
We have a couple of exhibits coming up that will kind of commemorate the 75th anniversary of the beginning of the Japanese-American internment back during World War II. The first exhibit we have coming up is a nationally traveling exhibit that's won several awards that we're bringing to Chandler, and it's the Art of the Tule Lake Internment Center. And that is going to be followed by a photo exhibit specifically about the Gila River Internment Center, which was just south of Chandler. And then tied to that, too, we will have a kiosk dedication over in Nozomi Park. So we have an awful lot coming up this fall.
It sounds like it. And the word Nozomi is a special word. Tell us what that means.
Nozomi is a Japanese word that means place of peace.
Place of peace. Very good. And tell me more about the Ghost Riders in the Sky exhibit and series coming up, since that's close and, as you mentioned, ties into this.
Mm-hmm. Sure. The theme this fall for the Our Stories speaker programs is kind of music and the way that the community's interacted with music. So there's one on the Beatles, there's one on big band music, but the Ghost Riders in the Sky one we thought would be a really nice tie-in because, of course, our resident entertainer, Pioneer Pepper and his Sunset Pioneers, that's kind of their signature song that they perform, and so we thought it would be a really nice thing to tie those things together and talk about that style of music.
And do they have a good following in Chandler that they'll, with that series, as well as being able to perform at the Chuck Wagon Cook-Off? Or is there they have some Chandler groupies that will follow them around?
They absolutely do. They absolutely do. They're pretty popular in their circle, and I think they just had a new album come out too. So this will be a big one for them this year.
And I can't get either one of you to sing one of their top favorite songs, can I?
No.
I don't think you want that.
Not today? Okay. Maybe some other time. We'll practice a bit. So back to the Chuck Wagon. I'd like to hear, what are some of your favorite memories, each of you, in all the years that we have done these particular events? Do you have any that stand out through the years?
Well, obviously, hosting Robert Irvine and the Food Network was a challenge because as the competition has grown to its full size and we have more Chuck Wagons than any we've ever had, we've got a TV crew also filming a pilot for a show, and that was a challenge but also an enjoyment. I think the other highlight, at least for me, would be seeing the growth of this love of our event from the Chuck Wagons themselves. We have these wagons that come from Colorado, Las Vegas, New Mexico, and they really have sort of mentioned how great the Chandler event is because it focuses on the Chuck Wagon. Sometimes the other Chuck Wagon cook-offs are part of a bigger event, whereas we really put the Chuck Wagon central. So I think that those relationships that we've built over the years with these teams and having them welcome back, it's really like a family experience.
Now, obviously, Dave McDowell will be at this one, and he has purchased his own Chuck Wagon and does some touring. Do we have some other Chuck Wagon owners and teams that arrive every year or with frequency?
Absolutely. We've got a handful of teams that come every year, and I think that, I was going to jump on what Jody said there and say the camaraderie, especially with those returning teams. We've got, in addition to Dave, we've got a wagon team, 2 other wagon teams that have been to every one of our 7 events so far, and they're coming again this year. Rockin' RR and the Cannon family wagon. So it's always great to have them, and we always enjoy the new folks coming in too.
And Nate, what is one of your favorite memories in the years that we've done this? Something you particularly enjoyed?
Sure. I really enjoyed having Robert Irvine there. I think it was a challenge, but I actually bought a meal from his wagon because I kind of figured, when am I ever going to have a meal from Robert Irvine again? And it was kind of amazing because it was really good. It was fantastic, but it wasn't award-winning. Like he won one award, a 3rd place in the meat category. And the shocking thing about it was how incredibly bad his cornbread was. And he commented on it. He did a shot at the end where he said something to the camera, he looked in the camera, said something, took a bite of his cornbread, and they cut. And he just kind of turned and spit it out. It was like, that is terrible. So it was kind of funny that him making fun of his own cooking was kind of a fun thing to see.
So there's a few different dynamics just in mentioning that, obviously, between cooking in the controlled space of your kitchen where you can pull things out, and if something doesn't work right, perhaps you can quickly recover, as opposed to cooking in the Chuck Wagon cook-off. Tell me a little bit about what you've seen and just the art of cooking in an environment like this.
Yeah, well, it's back to the Robert Irvine for a minute. The traditional teams that were coming regularly, they smoked them when it came time to how good they were at their craft. And obviously these people love this experience. But that managing heat, that's the key of any kind of cooking. And these people can do it no matter whether it's windy or rainy or or hot. It doesn't matter. They're managing so that they don't burn anything, so that the beans are tender, so that the desserts are tasty and flaky. And as you watch that specialty skill, art almost of managing that heat, managing caring for their cast iron that's decades, if not more than 100 years old, and the care and love that they put into that art, that you can really taste it.
Nice. Well, speaking of that, Jody, tell us about this. I understand one of our staff has actually prepared this. So
Yeah.
what do you know about the skillet
Indeed.
and the cornbread before us?
Well, we have a traditional cornbread, one of the courses that is often made by the wagon teams for the chuck wagon, and this is actually prepared in an antique cast iron skillet that actually was on the trail for a period of time. It's 120 years old. It's a cornbread with roasted green chilies in it. So,
wow, we're going to have to dig into that. As I look at this cast iron skillet, you see lots of layers on there, and you can tell it's been around and has some history. And maybe we'll get to taste a little bit of that history here.
absolutely.
So, Nate, a little earlier, you had mentioned a couple different programs. Can you share with us some of the ways that people can find out about those programs?
Absolutely. The best way to do that is to visit our website, which is www.chandlermuseum.org, and that'll get you all the information about all our programs, events, and exhibits.
Oh, very good. Well, I look forward to this year's Chuck Wagon Cook-Off. I've had the opportunity of being, I think, a beans judge, a potato judge, dessert judge, and as well as just seeing all of the excitement. I love seeing the children that come out for these, and it kind of takes them into a different era. I love the fact that people come out wearing, whether it's Western garb or the jackets, and it really takes us back, in at least for a couple moments, a couple days in Chandler, a little bit back to the frontier. So it's an exciting event, and I look forward to participating and hanging out this year. I've never been able to visit with when we've had the children's part there. I think we've tried that on Sundays in times past or other venues, but I look forward to making that as part of our event too. So as we wrap up this show and have a chance to sample this wonderful cornbread, is there anything else that either one of you would like to say about this year's event?
Well, I'd like to thank the partners at Tumbleweed Ranch, our nonprofit support org. We couldn't do the event without them. They fundraise for it. They do lots of hours of volunteering for it. Thank all the other volunteers, community volunteers that help put on the event, and as well as our sponsors. We have several sponsors that provide not only cash, but in-kind services to help doing it. I just want to make sure everybody comes out to the event on November 11th and 12th, and if they have any questions about what's going on or want to learn more about it, they can visit us on www.chandlermuseum.org.
Very good. And Nate, any other things you'd like to say?
I think Jody summed it up very nicely. Thank you for having us.
Well, very good. It's been an honor to visit with you. I've been staring at that cornbread, and I'm looking forward to digging into that. Well, once again, we're at the closure of our program, and I am Councilmember Kevin Hartke, and this is Chandler in Focus. Look forward to seeing you next time, partner.